this was actually fun. I'm sure people are probably putting in your comments right now some more questions that they may have. I would love if you tell me some common questions that you usually have. Hi, I'm April from Miss Momo Love Sci. Hi, I'm Angela from Inspired 33. Okay, I did a video about my interview, and the response has been so overwhelming, and I keep getting the same question over and over again. So I thought that we should do a video about the questions I was asked during the interview. So I have my sister along with me. Hello. And she is a career coach who works in workforce development. So I am going to go through and I am going to tell you the questions that were asked during the interview, and she is going to give us some strategies on how to answer a question like this if you're ever in an interview and something similar pops up. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because April's questions are going to come very specifically from a certain industry, which is going to be in education. And so I'm going to try to take some of the broader sense of the question and turn that into what might be used if you're in a private sector or working in a nonprofit world. Sounds good. Okay. Are you ready? Let's get started. Okay. All right, question number one. I was asked to describe my experience coaching people through the PBIS process and professional development activities. So the broader question is describe your experience coaching people through a specific topic or. And so I'm really glad that you explained that, because you just used acronyms that were very specific in the education world, and I'm sitting here like, I have no clue what that is. But after your explanation, what I took from it would be talk to someone about some leadership opportunities that you've had a chance to provide others as far as the audience. And then you also want to tell maybe about three different moments in time through that particular situation, and then you make sure you want to provide what was the outcome. She talks all this non-education lingo, and I'm like, okay. What? But that's what I did. So when I saw that question, I went in my head and I said, okay, I had to talk specifically about times where I led a PD session, right? Or I worked with a district program where I led a bunch of teachers through this process. And I said that during the interview. I said, when I was blank, 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 I did this presentation blank, 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 using this blank, blank, blank resources. I did it for so long, and this was the objective and the outcome. I think that's what you said. No, I think about a client I was working with, and that client kept saying, I have no leadership experience. I have nothing to say. And then when we started talking about what was some of their responsibilities that they've encountered the past 6 months, the person ended up telling me that, well, they helped move one of their offices from one location to the other. And I said, well, there you go. That's leadership. Right? And then I helped this person walk through all the roles that she took, as far as creating a task list for everyone, emailing for communication, just kind of planning for that day, and to talk about how the move was successful. So for me, that is a way to describe coaching people through a leadership opportunity. Before we move on to the second question, great point. Teachers or educators, I think that we feel like we don't have leadership experience unless we're like an assistant principal. Yes. Or we move up in title. But if you coaching other teachers, if you have a student teacher, if you're mentoring, that's definitely leadership experience. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So question number two, describe how you...
Question number two. Describe how
The cat came over and became very friendly to April. So I was asked to describe how I would handle the following situation. I'm working with a team at school, and one of the participants, they just refused to buy in. And instead of buying into the PBIS framework, they continue to suspend students at a very high rate. how would I handle the situation? It seems like you're trying to convince someone that maybe there's an opportunity to do something differently to have a different outcome. I would think about an opportunity where you had to use different communication styles with the person, and kind of change your conversation, change your language. That's what I took from it. When I answered the question, when I saw the question, I was just like, yes, because I went back into my memory bank and said, I've done this. If you are in any position where you're mentoring or you're leading more than one person, usually, there's someone you have to work extra hard to get that buy in from.
Yes.
Right? And so sometimes it's almost like teaching. Sometimes the spiel you do works for 75% of your class, but you still have that 25% that's just extremely resistant. So, what do teachers naturally do? They reteach or they go about it in a different way. So, when I answered that question, I said when I was part of the district initiative, I had to work in a school, and we had a couple of people that were just resistant, say, oh, this is just another district initiative. You're going to come in for a little while and then you're going to leave. But you have to first identify who those people are, and then you have to do a different approach. Feel as if they're part of the team, or get that buy in from them. Absolutely. And no matter what industry you in,
Oh, yeah.
how you answer this question is exactly the same. It's all about trying to figure out what communication style and what type of information you need to provide that person that will make a difference.
I like
For-
it.
I like it.
Thank you.
And if you think about it, this is a natural transition for teachers because we do it every day. We usually have 30 kids looking at us for an hour that we have to educate. And they're all not going to get it in the same way, and we have to adapt, adjust, and reteach to make sure that they're all on the same page. That's definitely a great skill. Are you ready for question number 3?
Yes.
Our last question. So it says, I was asked to explain personally how I handled personal conflict. And they suggested that I can talk about personal conflict between me and a colleague, between me and a supervisor, but I had to explain how what the conflict was and how I went about addressing it. My answer to that would be, if you say in an interview that you don't have any conflict with everybody, that's a negative, right? Because everyone has some level of conflict with someone, right? So, one, you're not being truthful, or you are unaware of self, right, in your environment. So, best thing is to answer this question very authentically, but also use situations that have outcomes that shows your ability to interact, your emotional intelligence, and your conflict resolution skills. I actually thought out of all of the questions, that was the one that I don't want to say I answered most authentically.
Okay.
But the other question was describe your experience, or the other question is how would you handle. But this one says, the way it was written, no, you tell me about a conflict you had and how you handled it.
Yes.
That was one that I looked at it once and I answered it very from the gut. And these questions also led me to believe that this job is going to come with some pushback because all of these questions had a theme to it. You know exactly what you're walking into. But so these questions are to figure out whether they're going to be a good fit, not just for the team, but also in the role. So they may seem challenging to others because they're not really cookie cutter, but I say kudos and A+ to the interviewers for finding questions that were really behavior specific. That's because you're always on the other side of the table. You're always interviewing other people. But for me, who is often the person being interviewed, these questions, I mean, you drive yourself crazy thinking about the type of questions that you're going to be asked. But if you go back and think about
It's nerve-wracking.
the vast amount of experience that you have,
Yes.
you have a lot to pull from. And that's different from someone that's newly into the field and they're kind of struggling, trying to figure out what they would be like. I did have some people want to know what the follow-up questions were, because I said I asked 2, and I'm going to tell you what they are. All right? Yes, and where did you get those questions from?
Really. Really. I don't know. They came. It was through osmosis, I think.
Okay.
No. And she gave me the questions.
Good questions that really help you kind of figure out whether it's a great fit and if
Yeah.
the organization or school is really providing what you are looking for, right? Because the first set of questions was about what the school is looking for, but interviews are really a two-way street. And these were a couple of questions to make sure that the school it was a great fit for you.
Yeah. So the first question I asked, and I told you in the last video, you always have to ask a question. No matter if you think the interview is going terrible, you have to ask a question. So the first question, what does success look like in the first 30 days or the first 60 days of this job? And I can see from the look on their faces, one, it's maybe a question they don't get very often because they were taken aback a little bit, but I also saw that they liked the question. They liked the question, and they all kind of looked at this one person, like who's going to answer it, and they all looked at this one person to answer it, and she answered it very robustly, so I think she was very happy about that question.
Yeah, I think it shows one that you're confident that you are a great candidate and you are looking towards the future, and you're really selling yourself and just knowing that this would be a great fit. And then two, once you get the job, you're already thinking about, okay, how can I be successful? Because landing the job is not the end all be all. It's really just beginning. And so you're planning ahead, thinking about what steps, what small goals do I need to accomplish to make sure that I'm starting on the right foot.
I like it. I was very happy you gave me that question.
Yeah, that was free.
And the second question, last question I asked was, what type of PDs would be available to me in this position? And I like that question personally because it lets the interviewer know that PDs, if you're in the teacher world, that's for growth, right? You go to a PD session because you're trying to gain information or knowledge to strengthen your skill set.
You're in. It's, believe it or not, not a whole lot of companies provide professional development. So one, it's letting the organization know that that is extremely important to you. And B, you're kind of putting a stake in the ground saying, once I take this position, I need to know that you will be able to provide me opportunities to continue to grow.
That was a question that I told you in my last video, and if you didn't watch, I'm gonna link it up above, and I'm putting in the description box below so you can check it out. That was a question I told you when I asked. They were like, so I wasn't sure how the question went across to the people, but hey, I told you I had to ask 2 questions at least, and I did.
Yeah. And I'll tell you how much I really care about professional development. One role that I have in the larger workforce development, I'm actually in charge of the largest budget that we do. And so, and we are thinking about places to start slimming and cutting. I do not touch my professional development my line item at all. Yeah, no, this was actually fun. I'm sure people are probably putting in your comments right now some more questions that they may have.
I would love if you tell me some common questions that you usually have when you go through an interview. And if you are on the other seat of the table, if you're on the other side of the table and you are the one interviewing people, what is that one question that you have to know? That you ask all the time? I would love to know, because I feel this YouTube teacher community, like, we need to help each other out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, until next time, this is April from Miss Momo Love Sci.
This is Angela from Inspired 33.
Okay, really quickly, what the heck is Inspire 33? How do you spell that?
END, Spired, SPIRED, number 33.
I've been saying it. I said Inspire. It's how much I care about that stuff. No, I'll just play it. So Inspired 33. And you have your own YouTube channel.
Yes, which is growing at this point, but
Me too.
really learning that this is a great platform to connect with people and provide a lot of information, and it's a great communication tool. So,
all right. And until next time, we're gonna be out.
Yes.
But before we do,
Okay.
can we do our Greek symbols so people know that all the wonderful information you got is from a member of the lovely and finer women of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated?
and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Them too. All right. Bye.